Hey guys, so I am here at the gym and I just wanted to share my thoughts on the Tyrese Haliburton Achilles issue. And just like it feels like we are seeing much more Achilles issues specifically, especially when we're hearing like, oh, it's a calf issue, and then boom, Achilles. And so it's just important to remember that, like, especially your Achilles and your calf, like, they're connected. So, it's a little weird for me to see these things as well. But, just a few, I guess, thoughts. Like, I watch a bunch of, like, I feel like Netflix recently has had a lot of documentaries, and it looks like, man, some of these guys, like, their pregame warm-ups, and then the pregame shoot around and private shooting and all this stuff. And then you watch the NFL on Sunday and you see these guys on the field in like shorts and t-shirts doing a bunch of stuff 6 hours before the game. Like, back in the day, did they do that? Like 20 years ago, 25 years ago, did Jordan have, shoot around and private practice and shooting before pregame warmups? Like, if no, we need to, or, look, if they wanna, not we, I don't need to do anything, but like, I think they need to take a look at just, is all this extra practice and shooting around, and like, is it really worth it? Like, at that level, do they need 3 hours of court time before the game, on the day of the game? Or are they just better off resting and relaxing? Because we know that most injuries occur because there's just too much volume, right? And not enough recovery. And so if you're doing they use this as an example, but like, if you're jumping 1,000,000 times compared to 1,000 times, that's a lot more wear and tear on your lower body, your calf, your Achilles. And so it's a lot of time, the old saying, the dose makes the poison, definitely happens here. And so, if there's just too much volume, there's nothing that we can do to essentially help that, right? Even like all the rest in the world, too much is still too much, and you might not be able to recover from it. And the only way that you can help or fix the problem is just reducing the volume, doing less. A lot of people that work with me in my gym currently, it's like, if you're working out 6 days a week, I tell them all the time, I think it's too much. It might feel good now, but eventually I think it's going to catch up to you. And, you hurt your back because you're just doing too much, not necessarily because like you did a bad rep. And that's where a lot of people are like, oh, that one deadlift. It wasn't that one deadlift. It was the 50 deadlifts before, right? That 12th tequila shot. It wasn't just the 12th tequila shot. The 11 before also had something to do with you falling asleep at the bar and having a horrible hangover, right? The dose makes the poison. And then from just like a training perspective, like if we're talking about Achilles issues, calf issues, the first thing that we look at my gym is just a simple assessment of your ankle range of motion. And so reduced ankle range of motion is going to increase the amount of course, rolled ankles that you have, foot issues that you have, Achilles issues that you have, calf issues that you have, especially. And so if people have joint stiffness, joint limitations, or not enough range of motion, that's going to increase their risk for injury. And so a simple assessment, like I've shared on my social media, of testing the ankle range of motion to make sure that you have adequate range of motion and flexibility, is going to reduce the risk for injury. At the same time, you can also look at different strength tests to make sure that each leg is pretty much the same strength, right? So strength balance. If you have one leg that is 20% stronger than the other leg, your strong leg could be at risk for injury because it's going to continue to do more work. And your weak leg could be at risk for injury because it's going to continue to try to keep up with the strong leg. A simple assessment we use here at the gym is a step-up assessment where you're just going to do as many step-ups as you can with a given weight on one side. Box height's going to be above knee. And then you're going to do as many step-ups as you can on the other side. And again, you should have the same number of reps. So that's a simple way to test single leg strength and strength balance. That's another way or reason that we see a lot of different injuries and just discomfort. And from a performance perspective, you're going to perform better if you have two legs that are equally as strong, right? If you have two ankles that are just as flexible, as opposed to having, one ankle that's super flexible and one ankle that's super tight tight and stiff. Of course, the stiff one is going to be more susceptible to different injuries. You're asking it to do too much, or your other structures are taking on, the additional wear and tear. Okay. Our bodies are extremely resilient until they're not. And so if we are limited in one area, that means that another area needs to pick up the slack. Okay. And again, that, sometimes might be fine, but over the course of a season, over the course of a number of different workouts, or as the volume increases, that's when bad shit happens. Some other strength assessments that we use and this is all to just essentially test that you have balanced strength across legs and different muscle groups in your body. Okay. And so like your deadlift compared to your back squat, you should have a stronger deadlift than a back squat. Your back squat should be about 80% of your deadlift. Okay. Otherwise, the musculature of, let's say, like if you have a weak deadlift compared to your back squat, or they're equal, then, your lower back's weak, your glutes might be weak, your hamstrings are weak, your posterior chain. And so you're going to be more susceptible to injuries in your posterior chain. At the same time, if your squat is super weak, that's going to be your hips, your knees, your quads, and sometimes your ankles as well. And so, doing a simple assessment of, if you can do 10 deadlifts at 300 pounds, 80% of that, I believe, is 240. That means that you should be able to do 10 back squats at 240 pounds. Okay. That is just the percentage that we've seen based on a lot of data and research from other strength coaches and physical therapists in the space that do a lot of this. And we've used it here at OneLife for 8 years. There's some other ones too. We have a carry test. And again, essentially, we're just looking to increase performance, reduce injury risk. And so like, those are some of the things that immediately come to my mind. I have no idea what they're doing, but like, I see, for me right now, what I see a lot of is like, especially with baseball, these off-season travel leagues where kids are now playing, 6-7 days a week and multiple games on like a weekend and all this stuff. And, then they get hurt. And it's like, well, volume's too high, you're not resting enough. And then also just like if you're only playing one sport and you're not training and you're not working other muscles, then you have overuse injuries and underuse injuries and you're not balanced. And so it is a complex situation and scenario. But once again, I also like, even on a pro level, it seems to me like they are doing a lot more and practicing a lot more and warming up a lot more. And, to the point where, is that necessary? Is it a good thing? I'm not sure, but those are just my thoughts. Let me know if you have any questions or if some of this makes sense.